This just kind of finishes closing the door.
Welcome to the Tuesday, June 7th meeting of the Hot Springs Board of Directors. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Pastor Kenny Hall, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand with me?
Let us pray. Father, we love you today. Lord, we just thank you for this city of Hot Springs, Lord, you've given to us, Lord. Lord God, I just ask that you bless this meeting tonight, that you bless the mayor and each board member, each one attending tonight. And Lord God, each one that belongs to this city and this county. And Lord, we love you so much. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby call this meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Davidson.
Oh, she's not here. She's with the music.
Jones.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Ramick.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Carney.
Here. Okay. The first item of business is to consider the approval of the agenda. Directors, are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda, including items, if any, to be removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I
Do you
move.
have one? Oh,
No, I'm
you're-
raising my hand for recognition.
Oh, I thought you
I
were-
move to approve the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, it is adopted. The next item of business is to consider the approval of the minutes of the board meeting, the regular meeting held on May 17th, and the special meeting held on May 31st. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the minutes?
Mayor, I make a motion for the approval of both minutes.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. The motion is adopted. In an effort to afford everyone an equal and orderly opportunity to address the items on tonight's agenda, I ask that and remind our citizens and our guests that we adhere to a 3-minute limit on your comments, and for your convenience, we will display a clock timer. Out of respect for all of us, we ask that you please honor this request. And while members of the board may have questions of the speakers, I ask that any general comments be reserved for the board discussion after all the speakers have been heard. As a reminder, would everyone please speak into their microphone so that everything can be heard by those attending and viewing the meeting on television. And we also ask that all cell phones be silenced, and please refrain from any disturbance of the meeting. Should you need to leave prior to the conclusion of the meeting, we ask that you do so quietly. If your part of the agendas has been taken care of, we ask that you leave quietly so that we can finish the business of the city. And we do appreciate everyone here. We thank you so much for coming out tonight, and we thank you for your interest in the business of our city. At this time, we have guests to be recognized, a whole lot of guests, and I have a proclamation which I will read first, and then I'll ask the spokesperson for our group to come forward and introduce the group with us tonight. But I'll read the proclamation first and then present it. Whereas, first created as the badge of military merit by George Washington in 1782, the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration presently in use. And whereas the Purple Heart was the first American service award or decoration made available to the common soldier and is specifically awarded to any member of the United States Armed Services wounded or killed in combat with a declared enemy of the United States. And whereas many former residents of Hot Springs have made the ultimate sacrifice in giving their lives in the cause of freedom, and numerous combat wounded veterans currently reside within the city and contribute to this community in countless ways. And whereas chartered by an act of Congress, the mission of the military Order of the Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill among the combat wounded veteran members and their families, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most important, make sure we never forget. And whereas we appreciate the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms and believe it is important that we acknowledge them for their courage and show them the support that they have earned. And whereas the City of Hot Springs wishes to pledge its strong support to the Military Order of the Purple Heart and for those who put their lives at risk in service of their country and their fellow citizens, now therefore, I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim that the City of Hot Springs is a Purple Heart City, in witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on this 7th day of June in the year of our Lord 2016. And is it Mr. Adkins that's representing? I will present this to you, and then we would like for everyone to stand that's with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The group.
Oh, not me.
All right. And I'll take a picture of the two of you for now.
Why you let me get up?
That'll work?
Yeah.
So then I'll have to move forward. Will that work with you over there? Or just over here? Or not?
Certainly.
Okay. There we go. At least that'll get most of you in the picture. Cortland, would you like to come over here too? Your representative also. Can you get up?
Yeah.
Please hold the proclamation down lower so the gentleman in the wheelchair can be
Can you hold it
seen.
down a little lower so the gentleman in the wheelchair can be, there you go.
There you go.
Mayor Carney, City Manager Frazier, Board of Directors, and veterans present, and residents of the great city of Hot Springs. As you heard in the reading of the proclamation, the Purple Heart is specifically a combat decoration and is our nation's oldest military medal. It was created by General George Washington in 1782 and originally known as the Badge of Military Merit. It was first awarded to 3 enlisted soldiers in Newburgh, New York, but unfortunately faded from use shortly thereafter. The award was reestablished in 1932 by the President of the United States, it was Herbert Hoover, per War Department General Orders 3, and renamed the Purple Heart. The criteria for presentation stated it is awarded to members of the U.S. Armed Forces who are wounded by an instrument of war at the hands of the enemy, and posthumously to the next of kin and to the name of those killed in action or die of wounds received in action. In 1973 and again in 2015, the criteria for awarding the Purple Heart was amended to include U.S. service members being wounded or killed by attacks or acts of terrorism within the United States by terrorist groups or in countries friendly to the United States. Freedom is not free. The heritage the Purple Heart represents is sacred to those who understand the price paid to wear it. It was won by the blood shed on the battlefields of the American colonies when we obtained our independence from England. It has been guaranteed by the blood shed on the battlefields of Europe, the Pacific, Southeast Asia, and most recently the Middle East to ensure that all Americans might continue to enjoy the freedoms that we have fought to preserve. The designation of Hot Springs as a Purple Heart City is a fitting and patriotic expression of gratitude for our cost of freedom. Established in 1992, the Purple Heart Trails and Cities program is to create a symbolic system of cities, highways, bridges, or other monuments that give tribute to the men and women who have been awarded the Purple Heart Medal, and I'll make a footnote on that in a minute. It accomplishes this goal by placing a visual reminder to have paid a high price for our freedom to live and travel in a free society. Signs or monuments have been placed at various locations throughout the United States and its territories, designating those cities, highways, or bridges where legislation, proclamations, resolutions have been passed to make them a part of our Purple Heart program. Today, on the 7th of June of 2016, on behalf of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, I'm honored to have Patriot John Barron, a past commander of Chapter 436 here in Hot Springs, present a plaque to the City of Hot Springs, designating it as a Purple Heart City. In addition, I want to thank Mayor Carney and members of the Board of Directors and the residents of Hot Springs for recognizing the service and sacrifices made by all veterans who have served our great nation, but also giving special tribute to those awarded the Purple Heart Medal. Now, this was a process that started back in November when John and I were working, unfortunately, to close the chapter here in Hot Springs. I will hope that this generates enough interest that we can actually reactivate it. I've been to Hot Springs many times before I received a Purple Heart, but very few after, because I'm actually a recent awardee myself. And I hit the Visitors Bureau downtown, and I'm seeing this beautiful monument down there. And, of course, the first thing I want to do is find out the history about it. I ran into this lady because I beat feet over here to City Hall and figured that'd be the first place I start. Miss Winters was very helpful. And she helped me starting back in November, and then I made contact with her again in February and then March, and here we are today. And I'm very happy to see that out there and what Hot Springs has done for our veterans. This city has done a tremendous job of recognizing the service and sacrifice by all veterans who served our state and our nation. So at this time, I am going to turn it over to John.
Thank you. My name is John Barron, and I'm a World War II veteran of the Pacific Theater. In fact, I helped, General MacArthur get ashore on Leyte Island. I have been the former chapter commander 436 Military Order of Purple Heart. And we have not been able to have a sustaining active membership. Many of us were World War II veterans, and of course, many have passed along, and the rest of us have gotten old, and it's rather difficult for us to maintain an active group. We have been given the privilege, or I have been given the privilege of and the honor, I guess, of presenting the plaque to you and our district directors, proclaiming Hot Springs, Arkansas, a Purple Heart City on this day, the 7th day of June 2016, a day following the historic World War II landing on Normandy Beach in France in 1944. I would like to also thank the city directors who have been and still are maintaining DeSoto Park, which has been a Purple Heart Memorial Park ever since, I think, 1992. It's located on Highway 7, which was once the gateway into Hot Springs. We have tried maintaining the park in many ways, financially and by actual work. but as we have gotten quite old and feeble, we have more or less have turned that all over to the park department, and the park department with a great park director has done a yeoman job in keeping our memorial tank. It's an M60 memorial tank dating back to the Korean War. This tank is in a peace mode. Now, by peace mode, the cannon is turned 180 degrees to the rear. A tank facing with the cannon facing forward would be a tank ready for warfare. Not only have we had such great cooperation with maintaining our memorial park, but we've also had a lot of help, publicity that encouraged our organization to maintain an active role. So our thanks go out to all of you directors, all of you that is both not only the directors that represent the districts, but also all the directors that have helped with maintenance and the information that they have given us in all these years. We are proud of our tank, and we would like to maintain it where it is at DeSoto Park, and we will, in whichever way we can, help financially to see that it is maintained. I would like to introduce some of the active members we have. Some of the active members we have here today that have been very loyal and attended meetings and participated in all of our activities. I would like to have them in a group picture. We have two of the World War II members, and one of our members is from the Desert Storm, and of course they're all Purple Heart members. They have put their lives on a line in battle. So I would like these people to come and stand alongside for a picture. That would include, we've got Ralph King. Ralph has been an active member not only in the Purple Heart, but he's a very active member of the VFW and Disabled American Veterans. He's been with the Honor Guard, the VFW Honor Guard, that perform a very important service for any family that requires their presence at any burial ceremony. Another World War II veteran I have, and a very close friend, of course, is Eugene Forsythe. Gene Forsythe is a World War II veteran, and he served on the island of Okinawa. Fortunately, I was wounded in the in the Okinawa campaign, and I have many friends that are now buried in the Punch Bowl in Hawaii. That's where they have been burying the Pacific Theater casualties. To me, killed in action is a most heroic deed that an individual can give to a country. Anyone that gives their life for the defense of the country should not only receive a Purple Heart that is usually given to the family members, but to me, there is no more heroic individual than one that has given their life in a warfare that is a battle that you have to either win and because without winning, we would all be we would not be a victorious group. Okay, my wife says cut it out, so I say. My wife says me to thank you all for all of your help, service, and we appreciate it. And
Yes, ma'am, we'll do that. And I need all patriots to come forward because once John presents the plaque, then we're going to have our picture taken with Mayor Carney. Oh, okay. Oh. Actually, I'll have a picture of it and send that in. That's the plaque in a place where it can be viewed. Pictures of it. Thank you.
A little dark under there. But
We ask your indulgence because we have a number of people with cameras here.
yes, Mayor Ruth Carney, I present this plaque to the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, and we are proud to be Purple Heart City, one of many that are being turned into Purple Heart cities.
So much. We appreciate you. Oh, you're still doing it.
Great job.
Thank you.
One final group. Don't go anywhere yet.
Young man right there.
Attention order.
Thank you so much. We'll find just the perfect spot for that.
She can pop that camera, please, on the news page.
Hey, Larry, is that Melinda?
Yes, I'm going to.
The whole party. It's not a whole party. Mayor. Thank you so much. And I do want to thank several of you came from Little Rock. Was it the Little Rock?
Thank you for all of you.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet. We have a surprise tonight.
You got a black shirt.
It's been a while.
I was the youngest.
We have a first within the military of the Purple Heart, and I'm very happy that it is occurring here in the state of Arkansas, and I'm very happy that it is occurring here on a night that we are making Hot Springs a Purple Heart City. And I'm going to turn it over to Miss Karen Osowski, and she is from the United States Postal Service, and I'm going to let her unveil the surprise.
Okay. Like you said, my name is Karen Osowski. I'm with the Postal Service here in Hot Springs. I'm the manager at Albert Pike Station. And I'd like to present you Mayor Ruth Carney. This is the first cancellation of the Purple Heart and for the city. And we are proud to give this to you. And we...
Thank you. Wow. I have a whole closet. Thank you.
And we thank all of our service people, our Purple Heart, our regular veterans, and all those that are currently active service for all that they do for us.
And we might even, I don't know if we should even mention it yet, but Senator, not Senator, Representative Westerner has requested Adam Brown, so they're in the process of that. So to represent.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
This was actually a surprise to me too. My understanding is Ms. Osowski saw the paper, the article in the paper that was done about 3-4 weeks ago that we were going to name Hot Springs as a Purple Heart City. She worked through the city, and they approached me, and she made contact with me. We actually had a conference call with my national headquarters located in Springfield, Missouri, and it involved my region commander, who's in Texas, our legislative officer, and our JAG officer, and it was unanimously approved. And we're very proud that this happens on a night that a city becomes a Purple Heart City, especially on a post office station that is going to be named for a Purple Heart recipient. So you are a first in the nation. Congratulations.
Hey now.
Much we appreciate. You
yeah.
got another one?
Well, no, this Ms. Osowski for exceptionally meritorious and conspicuous assistance to the military of the Purple Heart Department of Arkansas. For your commendable dedication to our military and its veterans, this certificate is conferred to honor your support to those who have sacrificed for our great nation. Given under our hand the 7th day of June in the year of our Lord 2016, Vess Lawbaugh, Commander, Department of Arkansas. So. Mayor Carney and Director, City Manager Frazier, Miss Winter, Miss Payne, Karen, and Lisa. And is Mr. Steve Smith here this evening? Because he had a hand in this too. But Miss Winter, I need y'all up here. Patriot Mark Diggs, who is the commander of the Little Rock chapter, has a special Purple Heart supporter pin to present to you all. So. And again, this is Miss Sheila Winter, and I know all you Hot Springs residents know her, but she's the one that helped me get this put together. So thank you. Mark? Yeah, so. Karen, Lisa, you too.
I'm the commander of the Little Rock Chapter 431. I'm also the junior vice commander Chuck's leadership. But we're here, we myself, our members here, recognizing Hot Springs and supporting you. We have a special token to give to you. We hope that you will display the colors on us.
You're supposed to be up there too.
What they are is the Purple Heart. So we would hope that you will wear that as recognition of what we're doing.
And don't forget Miss Payne on this end. She was trying to hide.
I tried to get her up there and she said no. Thank you so much.
We will now let y'all get back to city business.
Okay.
Good to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, while everyone's taking their seats, I would just like to acknowledge and thank these great American heroes and their comrades that without their courage and dedication, we couldn't be having this meeting tonight. So I just really want to thank you so much for your dedication. Thank you.
And I also want to recognize Cortland Sykes. If you don't mind, just come up to the microphone for 2 seconds. Tell us, he's our representative for Senator Cotton, and you want to just tell us, if anybody needs anything or how to get in touch with you, and what is it you do?
Well, thank you. So my name is Cortland Sykes, and I'm the military and veterans representative for Congressman Bruce Westerman here in the 4th District. So I'm your guy if you have any issues with, the VA, if you're looking to retrieve anything from the National Archives. I'm your guy at 101 Reserve Street right downtown Hot Springs, Arkansas. So.
Sorry, I said the wrong senator, but I knew who you were with.
That's fair enough, yes. And on a personal note, thank you to our warrior class tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you need anything, look him up. He's right here in town. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we will now hear our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Gosh, I can't hardly follow an act like that.
I know.
Let's talk about the Majestic Hotel, but the most majestic thing we're going to see tonight is what we've already seen.
Yes.
So I'm going to give them just a minute, Mayor, if I can, to let them clear the room.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm going to put my pen on while you're waiting. My father-in-law was a Purple Heart.
That lady in the purple, she goes to the pool. When I go there,
Do what? No, what? Don't work. Okay, here we go. Purple Heart. There we go. All right.
Okay. So, board members, I'd like to talk about the Majestic. First off, staff rated and ranked the proposals for the Majestic Hotel abatement and demolition project recently, and a recommendation has been made to bring forward a contract for services to DT Specialized Services of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The firm is highly recommended and was the lowest overall cost with a 5.5-month project timeline. Also, I took a personal tour of the Majestic. I asked Bill Burrow and Lance Beischer to take me down there and show me actually the inside of the building to the extent that it was safe to go there. And we happened to go on a rainy day last week, and every floor was, it was rainy on every floor, inside and out, at the Majestic. So, but really I was there at the urging of, you might have received a letter from Preserve Arkansas, and I talked to their director, the woman that wrote you the letter. And she had not been on the site, but she had been by it. I guess she and some of her staff stayed there back in 2006 before the hotel closed, and 10 years of abandonment probably had a big impact on the hotel. But when I was there, and I'm a save old buildings kind of guy, but I had a really hard time finding any way to salvage that. But I did follow up at her urging and talk to an architect that specializes in these kinds of projects, and I had my calculator out and walked through the tax credits and other programs that might be available to, quote, save the Majestic, and I arrived at a conclusion that it's just not feasible. But that of course is a board decision, and we'll await that further direction at the appropriate time. Also, last week I appointed Jason Stagey to be our new police chief. Jason isn't here tonight, but I wanted to remind the community that he has 4 goals. Of course, he gets his goals from all of you and from me, and I get all of mine from you, and you get yours from the voters. And but they were to reduce crime and help clean up neighborhoods in Hot Springs. That's been a consistent message I've heard from directors as well, particularly the clean up neighborhoods portion. To reduce drug activity in Hot Springs, advance the professionalism within the police department, and enhance the department's reputation and measurable performance consistent with the top police agencies in the state. So these are some lofty goals, but I know that Jason is, the vetting process was not only thorough, but there were also some follow-up interviews and further vetting questions after that. And Jason is developing an action plan that I think is going to be robust and well informed, and he's got lots of resources from other larger cities that are willing to help, and so I'm anxious to see him succeed in his new role as our police chief. And he did very well in the process, and rose to the top and earned every bit of the accolades that we've given him in the last couple of days in honor of his appointment. And then today, just this afternoon, we finished our interview process and our selection process for our new airport director. And their new airport director is going to be Glenn Barentine. All of you know Glenn. He was serving in an interim capacity. He also had some stiff competition, just like Jason Stacey did. And but Glenn was very well prepared. He came to the interview ready to go, and he provided outstanding answers. Also worked with us on a follow-up plan after the interview. So he's got 4 new goals out there. One is to develop a new airport master plan with some aesthetic improvements to the airport. Another is to extend the runway. And this was something I learned recently, that why the racehorses that used to fly in here now are flying into Little Rock, and then they're transporting by truck to Hot Springs. And there's a reason for that. They went from a Boeing aircraft 100 series to a 200 series, which adds quite a bit more weight and fuel. And when they leave Hot Springs, they go to a track in California with about 13 horses on board and 7,000 or 8,000 gallons of fuel on this aircraft. So it's really heavy when it leaves here. So that's why, since the transporter went to a larger aircraft, why we now need a larger runway to accommodate that. So that's one of the interesting things about our airport. I think the owners would rather have their animals flown in here so they could avoid the transport by vehicle, because that's anytime you move an animal, especially on a highway, statistics are that it's just not as safe for the animals, and these are some pretty expensive animals. So we're going to be working on that. Also, when we initially started looking for an airport director, we thought we could find. We were thinking about trying to find somebody who had economic development experience, which on an airport site. And for cities our size and the pay range we had, that turned out to be a very rare commodity, and not one that any of our applicants actually had a strong background in. So I've talked to our Metro Partnership representative, and they're willing to send Glenn to an economic development course, and he enthusiastically embraced that opportunity as well. So he's going to be doing that. And then also he's going to, with the loss of AAR, some of our fuel sales revenues have declined in that area while they've increased in other areas. So, but overall, we're looking at 2017 could be a tough budget year for the airport. So we're getting ahead of that problem by he's going to develop a long-term budget stability and financial growth plan for the airport. And so I think that will help us too as we go into the future. And those are my comments tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. And now we have upcoming events, but before we get everybody's upcoming event. We have an upcoming event next Friday, and I'd like to ask Chris Chapman if you just come over a second and tell us who all's getting promoted. There'll be a badge pinning, and you have been promoted to also, you want to say?
With the appointment of Chief Stacy, it did allow for 4 internal promotions up the chain of command. Officer Brandon Jones will be promoted to corporal. He's one of our canine officers. He's the one that has Keena. She's our show dog, so everybody has seen Brandon. Also, Sonia Luzader will be moving from corporal to sergeant. Jeff Michaud will be moving from sergeant to lieutenant. Lieutenant Billy Harvington, one of my best friends in the world, will be making captain, taking my current position, and I'll be receiving the assistant chief's position.
Woohoo!
So,
Wow.
and that,
Okay.
that will take place Friday, 2 p.m. at the City Police Department, and of course, everyone's welcome to attend.
Thank you. Appreciate that, and thank you, and congratulations. Okay, upcoming events. Do you have announcements? Yes, sir.
With regard to the upcoming event that our new assistant chief just announced, I'm proud of the fact that Jeff Michaud was one of my former students in my state and local government class years ago at National Park Community College. And I went back and looked at his record, and he did make an A.
Well, that's good. Is that upcoming event? He's got to do it again, or what?
No, he's not. He'll take the course again. He made an A, but I'm just proud of the fact that he's a former student.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, along that line, I would like to say that all of the people that are being promoted were my instructors in the Citizens Police Academy, and I received an A too. So
That's a good plug for the academy. So whenever that is, everybody should sign up and go through the course. Any other upcoming events? Okay, upcoming, and Suzanne Davidson is not here, but I'm sure she would like for all of you to know what's going on downtown, and what's the name of it? Music Festival. And there's printouts everywhere in the newspaper and special. So you take part of that, be a part of what's going on downtown. We're excited about that also. Anything else?
Yes,
ma'am.
Mayor, thanks. I forgot to mention that Webb Center is having tutoring classes, math, English, and Spanish, I think. And they're having lunch every day. They're feeding the kids Monday through Friday. So they have a place to eat.
Great.
Till 18. You can't go if you're 19.
Oh, wow.
But that's really exciting for me because, you know, there are so many children that don't get the proper lunch at lunchtime. And this way they'll be able to go in there and get their lunch. But they got to get tutored if they made bad grades.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great program.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along, we will get started on tonight's agenda.
Yes.
The next item of business is consideration of the consent agenda. Items in this section are of a routine nature and will be considered as one item of business without discussion. I will now entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Move to adopt the consent agenda.
We have a second.
I second that
We
motion.
have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Here. Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. And because there's no discussion on that, I would like to just emphasize the people that were appointed to committees, and I don't think there were any other things but committees. No, there was a commission. Okay. We have Karen White and Joanne Leahan to the Animal Control. We have Jim Miller to the Arts Advisory, Nathan Newman to the Civil Service Commission, Hal Koppel and Hillary Janet to the Planning Commission, and resolution and appointing Pam Mullinax. I think you're the only one here, Pam. Just stand up so we can see you. To the Transportation Advisory Committee. Is there anyone else here that I called your name? Oh, there you are. Yes, please.
Joanne Linehan.
Yes, okay. I said it wrong, didn't I, Joanne? Okay, Linehan. And we appreciate y'all being here tonight, and thank you. And we are so appreciative of your willingness to serve on our committees. Thank you so much. Let's give them a hand, too. Okay, the next item of business is to consider ordinance number O-1636. First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
We have 3 or 4 of those. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01636, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5629, stormwater drainage utility fees and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you're not entertaining a motion, second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
I so moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
And discussion? Mr. McFate.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Staff is recommending certain stormwater fee modifications in amending ordinance number 5629, Section 2, which is the section of the ordinance that deals with the fees for commercial and residential accounts. These accounts were established in 2008 and have remained the same since 2008. And Mr. Dan Jackson with Wilden and Economics.com is going to follow up with further discussion.
Thank you.
The economic impact is a net roughly $200,000 per year for the next 5 years if this is approved by the board.
Okay.
Okay, put it on your screen.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay, great.
While you're
Thank you.
getting ready, did you say $200,000 per year over a 5-year period, or $200,000 for a 5-year period? There's a difference there.
It would be $200,000 per year.
Okay.
For the 5-year period.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I'm Dan Jackson, Vice President of Wildan Financial Services, and I'm here to give you a very brief update on the status of the stormwater utility rate and fee recommendations that we're presenting to you tonight. Stormwater is an issue that is becoming increasingly important for cities as they urbanize here in the 21st century. As cities become more developed, as they create more what is called impervious surface area, what that means is that when there are rainstorms, there's going to be stormwater. And so any well-run city has to develop a plan to manage and maintain the stormwater and get rid of it, basically, so it doesn't end up in everybody's front lawn. The city of Hot Springs is addressing this issue along with many other cities throughout the country. In addressing stormwater, you have to take into consideration many factors. One factor being that the Environmental Protection Agency has issued many regulations that require cities to create and implement comprehensive stormwater management plans. In other words, a lot of what you have to do is not just necessarily by your own choice, it is being mandated to you by federal agencies. Well, when federal agencies mandate things, that costs money, and that money has to be reimbursed somehow. Stormwater fees are a way of doing that. In the past, when stormwater was not as significant an issue, either for Hot Springs or for many other cities, what most cities did is they just kind of absorbed stormwater costs as part of their water and wastewater costs. So the monthly water bill you paid each month, that included the cost to manage stormwater. Well, as you have urbanized, as these regulations have become more and more pronounced, and as the costs have increased, you have done what a lot of other cities have done, and that is you have created a separate and distinct stormwater utility. You have an awful lot of people doing that as well, other cities doing it. This chart right here shows that in the United States, over 55% of municipalities now treat stormwater as a separate utility. That number is up from about 35% in less than 10 years ago. So more and more cities are doing what the city of Hot Springs has done, and that is creating a separate stormwater utility, separately funded, separately financed, separately managed, in order to meet expectations. Now, this chart is really hard to read, but what it does is it presents a comparison of residential monthly stormwater fees for various cities throughout the United States. This is based on a nationwide survey done by the engineering firm Black & Veatch in 2014. The idea behind this chart is that it shows that for the many, many cities, across the United States charge a residential stormwater fee of somewhere between $5 and $10 a month. $5 is pretty much the norm for a residential community. Now, there are cities out there that don't charge anything at all for stormwater. And then there's cities like the winner in this survey is Seattle, Washington, which has a charge of almost $30 a month for stormwater. But as you can see, if you look at that chart, the vast majority of them are somewhere between $5 and $10 a month. So the fee that we're recommending that you adopt tonight is well within and even below that norm. Okay, this chart right here just shows that 39 states across the United States now have municipalities that have stormwater utilities. Arkansas only has 1 or 2, and the very first city in the state of Arkansas to develop a separate stormwater utility was the city of Hot Springs. You all were real pioneers, and what you have done, other cities in the state are going to be following in the not-too-distant future. Okay, let's give a little bit of background on your specific stormwater utility, because I think this background is very important when it comes to understanding both what your fees are today and what the proposed rate structure for the future is going to be. You see, the city of Hot Springs established a stormwater fee back in the year 2008. That's when you created the separate stormwater fund. And what you did is you created an initial, what was intended to be a temporary fee structure as you created the utility. You set a residential monthly fee of $3 for every residential household in the city, and you set a commercial fee, flat fee of $6. This fee was never intended to be permanent. It was intended to be only temporary until you could hire a firm like ours to come in and look at what the costs are and develop a more comprehensive and more cost-based structure. But all that got sidetracked when a lawsuit was filed against the city in the 2008-2009 timeframe that addressed the propriety of charging a separate stormwater fee. The argument was made by the plaintiffs that this was not really a fee for service, but instead was a tax. Well, this is not uncommon. Many cities were subject to lawsuits very similar to this. This went all the way to the Supreme Court of the state of Arkansas, and the Supreme Court ruled on the side of the city of Hot Springs in saying that it actually is a fee for service and is not a tax. This court decision in the state of Arkansas is now being used to basically settle this law around the entire nation. Now it is generally recognized that stormwater fees are fees, they're not taxes, and a lot of these other lawsuits are going away. So I think you should be very proud of the job that your staff did, not only in winning this case, but also establishing a precedent that other cities around the nation are following as well. However, litigation takes time, and this litigation did go on for a couple of years, and it meant that what was intended to be a very temporary fee structure of $6 for residential and $6 for commercial and $3 for residential ended up staying many, many years longer than what was intended. Well, this is what we're intending to fix tonight with the proposed rate structure. Okay, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about how you calculate a stormwater fee. I wanted to just bring up a couple of points because it is a generally defined methodology that has been created by people in this profession to actually calculate what the fee is. In other words, I didn't just sit behind my computer and make up the fees. It was based on a generally defined methodology. And that methodology has 4 parts to it. The first and most important thing that you have to do is you have to understand who is creating the stormwater. Who is causing it? And that is through calculating what is called impervious surface area. That's a very sophisticated term for concrete. What it means is who is paving over the land that's causing the stormwater to run off. That impervious surface area is the key calculation here. And then you take your accounts and you take your costs and you divide by the impervious surface area and you have your fee. It's really not that complicated. So, who is causing the impervious surface area? Well, you have 2 basic classes of customers. You've got your residential customers, and then you've got your non-residential customers. Residential customers are generally pretty uniform. This chart right here shows that of the 14,945 residential stormwater customers that you have, over 14,000 of them have 10,000 square feet of impervious surface area or less. Now, when you think about it, that makes perfect sense because residential people are homeowners. Most homeowners' lots are 10,000 square feet or less. So homeowners are generally very uniform in the amount of stormwater that they produce. For that reason, we're recommending a single fee for all residential customers. Commercial customers are a different story, though. You see, you have one fee right now of $6, but that $6 fee applies to all your commercial customers. Now, a commercial customer is anything from a mom and pop flower shop to a Walmart. Now, this chart right here shows the breakdown of impervious surface area for your commercial customers. You have 2,140 commercial customers. As you can see, most of them are 50,000 square feet or less, but you've got about 122 customers that are between 50 and 100,000 square feet. You have 76 that are between 100,000 and 250,000 square feet. You even have a couple that are over 1 million square feet. Now, right now, every commercial customer pays $6. So the flower shop pays the same amount as the commercial customer with 1 million square feet. Well, guess what? It costs the city a heck of a lot more to process, treat, and get rid of the stormwater that's being captured by that 1 million square foot customer than by the 10,000 square foot flower shop. So what we're going to do is we're going to recommend a fee structure that increases the fee by category of square footage in impervious surface area. We're projecting that you're going to grow a little bit over the next 10 years, and that goes into our calculation. You have about 16,000 stormwater customers right now. We're expecting it to hit about 16,500 10 years from now. As far as your costs are concerned, any well-designed rate structure is going to take into consideration the fact that your costs are going to be greater tomorrow than they are today. Now, that's for a lot of reasons, the main reason being that the cost of everything goes up by 3% a year due to inflation. You try to run your stormwater utility, like your water and sewer operation, like a business. In other words, you want the revenue that you get from your stormwater fees to cover the costs of processing and getting rid of all that stormwater. Well, guess what? Those costs go up over time. As they go up over time, the fee has to be set in order to recover that costs. So what we're going to recommend is a 5-year implementation of a new rate design that will recover all of your costs. And keep this in mind. You are a nonprofit entity. All you're trying to do is recover your costs. You're not in this to make a profit. You're not in this to pay dividends. All you're doing is charging the customers what it is costing you. You have no control over the fact that your costs go up over time, and all you will be doing by adopting this rate structure is passing it through to your ultimate customers. So let's cut to the chase. This is our recommendation for your long-term stormwater plan. We recommend that effective in June of 2016, or as soon as it can be adopted, I'm not quite sure what the implementation schedule is, but we recommend that you reset your residential fee from $3 a month to $4 a month. It's been $3 a month for 8 years. So this is the first adjustment in 8 years. But we do believe that an adjustment is necessary because right now your stormwater fees are not covering all of their costs. We're also recommending that over a period of time, you phase in larger monthly fees for the larger commercial customers that are causing more of your costs because they're producing more of the stormwater. As you can see, if you're a commercial customer of 10,000 square feet or less, we recommend setting that fee at $8. $10 for 10,000 to 49,000 square feet, $12 for 50,000 to 100,000 square feet, $28 for 100,000 to 250,000, and $60 for 250,000 and above. Over the next 4 years, we would recommend continuing to phase in the higher fee. This chart right here shows the recommended fees for each of the next 5 years. The residential rate of $4 would stay at $4 until January of 2019, when we would recommend it go up to $4.25. As far as the commercial customers are concerned, you can see that the fees do continue to increase each year. And I cannot emphasize this enough. The reason is because commercial causes a lot of stormwater, and that has to be paid for somehow. And that is why we're recommending this higher fee schedule for the commercials. The $6 they've been paying a month is a tiny fraction of the cost that you have incurred in processing the stormwater. And so what this fee structure does is, over a period of 5 years, eventually gets you to the point where the commercial customers are paying what it's actually costing you to provide that stormwater. So I'm to my last chart right now. I understand that in any rate presentation, and I've certainly done a lot of them, both for y'all and for other cities around the country, it's never easy to ask any ratepayer to pay more. However, a lot of these costs are simply beyond your control. Increasing urbanization causes more stormwater. Stormwater costs go up due to things like regulation and inflation. These fee adjustments are required just to allow you to cover your costs. The current fee, while it was good for its original purpose, it far outlasted its original purpose, and the new commercial fees, while higher, will only allow the recovery of costs from commercial customers. We do think the fee should be reviewed annually to make sure it's recovering all of your costs, but we recommend that you adopt this ordinance that adopts this 5-year plan that will adequately cover your needs for the period between now and 2020. That concludes my prepared remarks. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
I think we have a question.
Dan, I was waiting for you to take a breath there. So to clarify this for me, you have a residential house with a 10,000 square foot lot that has a lush green lawn, and their runoff, they're going to have absorption and saturation into their lot, but they're not going to be creating much stormwater. So you have a parking lot with 100,000 square feet of asphalt or concrete, and since that's not going to be absorbed or saturated into the surface, they're going to be creating a lot more stormwater for the city to have to process.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
And that's why the residential fee is low, because residential customers, by and large, do create stormwater, but not very much, because of exactly the reason you said. Commercial businesses tend to create a lot more.
So the people, the entities that are, where it's costing us much more to process the stormwater, are going to pay for that, not the people that are not processing or not creating all the stormwater.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's my understanding, going back to 2008 when I worked for another entity, when these regulations came down, that they don't apply to all Arkansas cities, correct? The stormwater regulations. It's the urbanized cities like Hot Springs. It's not some small town out here with 2,000 or 3,000 people.
That is basically correct. You have to meet a certain set of criteria, which you all do.
It's for primarily directed at urbanized areas as opposed to rural areas.
Correct.
Gravel parking lots.
Concrete is what we're talking about.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, just in case somebody from a smaller town came up to you and said, "We don't have any stormwater fee," they moved to Hot Springs. Well, that's why.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Dan? Okay. Thank you again for your presentation. We appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
That.
And you haven't heard the last of me yet.
Oh, okay. That's good. You mean tonight? Are you coming back? Okay. One more. Okay. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Ramick?
Aye.
Foley?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Carney?
Aye.
It is adopted.
It is adopted. Okay, this is the next one. The next item of business is consider ordinance number 01637. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, and council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01637, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5735, municipal water rates and charges, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. If you would, entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion.
Okay, to have a motion to adopt.
So moved.
And a second. Okay, and discussion. Would that be you, Mr. Bill?
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. Staff recommends approving conservation rate structures for sprinkler meters and amending ordinance number 5735. As you know, we have been working on different means of water conservation over the past few years. This is one of the primary means, and as you look at our sprinkler rates today, they're not inverted block rates. They're basically every rate, depending on, it doesn't matter how much water you use, you pay the same amount for every 1,000 gallons that you use. So someone that uses 25,000 gallons of water will pay the same amount as somebody using 2,000. 5,000 and so forth. So as we've gone through this process of looking at water conservation, we anticipate by implementing inverted block rates that we would be able to save about 10% per meter, or that's the goal, about 40 million gallons of water. And again, we currently charge rates for our residential use in that inverted block rate manner, tiered rates basically depending on the amount you use. And we are proposing to do the same with our sprinkler rates that we currently don't do. And again, it's for a matter of conservation. We think this will be pretty much revenue neutral as far as the finances are concerned. The goal is not to increase revenue, but to decrease the amount of water that we use and try to conserve that. With that, I'll turn it over to Dan for his presentation.
Thank you. As you all know, I've been providing water and wastewater rate recommendations and consulting assistance to the city since the year 2003. Back in the last decade, the city made what I felt was a very courageous decision to adopt what was called an inverted block rate structure for its water residential customers. The idea behind an inverted block rate is that the more water you use, the more you pay per 1,000 gallons for that water. The idea is to encourage conservation, to make sure that there is a financial disincentive for people to use greater amounts of water, while at the same time, for those small amounts of water, or the first several thousand gallons that you use, which you use for what we call non-discretionary purposes like drinking and bathing and washing dishes, you pay the lowest rate for that amount. So that once you hit the higher inverted block tiers, that's only for what we call discretionary water usage. The program, after it was adopted, was enormously successful in getting the city to reduce and flatten its water usage. Even though the population kept growing, your water usage has not grown at the same pace, and the conservation or inverted block rates for residential customers was a primary reason behind that. Well, you also have sprinkler customers or irrigation customers. And so the idea that was floated earlier this year was, why not do the same thing for your sprinkler rates? Have a conservation rate which will ensure that water is there for people to use, but they will use it in a more practical manner, because the more they use, the more they pay, and that's a disincentive for payment. You know, as an economist, I can tell you there's a central rule behind economics, and that is if you raise the price of something, you get less of it. And so by raising the price of higher amounts of water usage, you are discouraging that usage. And this presentation tonight is intended to adopt the same structure for your irrigation customers. So this one won't take nearly as long. You have approximately 18,000 customers inside the city limits of Hot Springs, 18,000 meter connections. About 2,000 of those are sprinkler meters. The rest are residential primarily, and then some commercial. Outside the city, you have about 17,000 customers, and about 1,000 of them are sprinklers. What that means is you've got about 3,000 sprinkler meters. That's kind of about what you'd expect for a city this size. And it brings you a pretty fair amount of revenue. It brings you about $2 million of water revenue a month. As you can see, the lion's share of it is inside the city, about $1.34 million, and about $809,000 comes from outside the city. That's under the current uniform rate structure. As Mr. Burrow said earlier, the rate structure that we're going to recommend here is going to be basically revenue neutral. It will be the same amount as if you implemented the standard rate adjustments on the sprinkler customers under a flat rate methodology as well. How do people here in the city of Hot Springs use water? Well, in a nutshell, you use water very, very prudently here in the city. This chart right here shows you the average amount of water used by residential customer each month. As you can see, an inside city limit residential customer on average uses less than 4,000 gallons of water a month. That's very, very good. Believe me, I live in North Texas. I live in Frisco, Texas. Our average usage is about 15,000 gallons a month. So the fact that you all have such remarkably low water usage means that you are very prudent in your water usage. As you can see, this chart also shows the amount of sprinkler water used. The average sprinkler meter uses almost 12,000 gallons a month. So sprinkler meters are using a lot more water than standard residential meters. That's not unexpected, of course, because sprinkler meters are used to water lawns, but it still is an awful lot more than what the residential usage is. Furthermore, this chart right here, which is really interesting to a guy like me, shows how people use water during the year in their sprinklers. This shows the average usage by meter each month for the 12 months of the year 2015. As you can see, in the January through April timeframe, sprinkler meters were virtually used no water at all. Well, not unsurprising, it's the winter months, so people aren't watering their lawns a lot in January, February, and March. But look at what happens when we hit the summer months. When we hit the summer months, usage absolutely spikes. It goes from virtually zero in January to an average of 37,000 gallons in September. What this tells us is that if you adopt a prudent, conservation-based rate policy, you can save a significant amount of water. Water is a precious and diminishing natural resource. To paraphrase Will Rogers, get all the water you can because they're not making it anymore. And the thing is, the more prudently you use water in the future, the better that's going to be for you and your community, and the more money it's going to save you in the long run. So, what we're recommending is that you set a new rate structure for your sprinkler customers that is based on the same inverted block methodology used for your residential customers. I know this chart is a little hard to read. It's hard for me to read, and I have it right next to me here. But what it does is as follows. It recommends, beginning in January 2017, the next time you do a rate adjustment, that you adjust your bottom block between 1 and 5,000 gallons to $3.86 per thousand gallons. If you're between 5 and 10,000 gallons, instead of that rate staying flat, we would recommend it go to $4.25. And then between 10 and 20,000 gallons, it would go to $4.67. And above 20,000 gallons, it would go to $5.14 per thousand gallons. And then in the next years, 2018, 2019, and 2020, we would recommend 3% across the board adjustments for all of the rate blocks. So what does this mean in terms of rates? What it means is there would be a first period in 2017 where there would be what we would call a bit of a rate shock, where people who use large amounts of irrigation water would see their bills go up fairly significantly. As you can see, this chart right here shows your average water bill at various gallonage levels. Right now, if you use 5,000 gallons of water a month, currently you pay $22.43 for that service. Effective January 2017, that would go up to $23.09, or 66 cents per thousand gallons for a 5,000 gallons on a sprinkler meter. However, if you use 15,000 gallons, your bill, which is currently $59.93, would go up to $67.67, which is an increase of $7.74. Furthermore, if you're a 50,000 gallon user, right now your bill is $191. It would go up to $245, which would be a $53 increase. So as you can see, if you're very large volume users, you would see a more significant increase. But that's what it's designed to do. The idea is to send a signal to ratepayers that while this water is available to them, it's going to be more expensive, and that encourages them to use the water more prudently. I've done conservation rates for cities all over the country. And a good standard rule of thumb is that when you implement a conservation rate, you will reduce per meter usage by at least 10%, maybe more. If you reduce your sprinkler meter usage by 10%, which I believe will be met if this rate plan is adopted, that will save the city 40 million gallons of water per year. That's 400 million gallons over the next decade. That's a lot of water. And that's a lot to pass down to future generations of residents here. So, while it's never easy to adjust or set a new rate, particularly one that is under a different rate structure than what you had before, there is a very tangible benefit that the city will realize by adopting this. That is the more prudent, effective, and efficient use of your precious and diminishing water resource. We strongly recommend that you adopt this rate plan and implement a conservation rate for your irrigation customers. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have one. Could this have an adverse effect that people will go for impervious services and then we'll have more stormwater? Just a joke. I mean, like, concrete your front yard.
It will make people use water more prudently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mary, that's a good way to get out of mowing your grass.
I know. They do that in Colorado. You just concrete your yard. Stormwater.
Like 2017 is going to be summer of the brown grass.
Yeah, we've had a few of those. Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, did you have a question?
Mayor, I would like to just compliment the management for addressing this. For the last couple of years, water has been and continues to be our highest priority. We've been in deliberations with others in the county and in the city as to how we can best use our water and how we can acquire more. And while we have conservation plans, and all residents have participated when we've declared an emergency, a steady plan like this is one that guarantees another future source of water for us. So I would just like to compliment the management in approaching this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we've been accused of not having conservation plans, so
this is a plan which will stop our water supply. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion?
I just encourage everyone to check their systems this summer because next summer the rate will be different.
Yes.
Make sure you don't have any leaks.
I'll give you one example. I've been working on a drip system in one of my gardens. There are 50 azalea plants in there that I run 10 sprinkler heads at 3 gallons a minute for 30 minutes, 4 times a week. That's 3,600 gallons a week. Ooh. We put a drip system in that's 50 gallons a day for 4 times 4, because I water 4 times a week. That's 200 gallons. That's the huge drop that you really can acquire by paying attention. So I'm really supportive of this plan.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Williams?
Aye.
Ramick?
Aye.
Foley?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Carney?
Aye. It is adopted. Okay, the next item of business to consider ordinance number 01638. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01638, an ordinance approving C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District zoning on 1 acre at 305 and 307 Airport Road and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. If you now entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Ms. Selman, please have discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Kathy Selman, Planning and Development Director. The first item that we're looking at tonight is an application by property owner Jeannie Tosh. She's looking for C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District zoning for approximately 1 acre located at 305 and 307 Airport Road. The subject property is currently split zone C2 General Business District and R4 Medium High Density Residential. Has 2 future land use map designations, both linear commercial corridor and residential medium high. It's located in Board District number 3. It's located in the 300 block of Airport Road, approximately 375 feet northeast from the Hot Springs Memorial Field Airport, approximately 1/2 mile southwest from the junction of Airport Road and Albert Pike Road. It's improved with a 5,000 square foot commercial building operating as the flea market. It is accessed by two separate driveways. One is on Airport Road, and the other is on Vickers Place at the back of the property. The property is bounded by Airport Road to the north, Vickers Place and Burger King to the east, Arkansas Midland Railroad excuse me, to the south, and Doc's Tire Shop to the west. The applicant has successfully demonstrated that the standards for favorable consideration have been met. The requested zone change to C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District is consistent with the goals and objectives of the Hot Springs Zoning Code 16255A and 16211E because it coincides with the development and growth of the Airport Road Regional Commercial Corridor and is surrounded by existing intense commercial and manufacturing development within the immediate vicinity of the subject. Planning Commission duly advertised and held a meeting on May 12, 2016, to consider the application. After calling for testimony and reviewing the record, Planning Commission, by an 8-0 vote, accepted the findings of the staff report and recommended that the board adopt an ordinance assigning C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District zoning and amending the future land use plan map to business commercial. And that concludes the presentation.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Ms. Selman? Yes, sir.
I don't have a question of Ms. Selman. I do have the city clerk, though. Lance, what is the process for sales tax revenues in that concept of a flea market?
The sales tax itself is in whatever the existing, it's a 9.25% right now.
I mean, does each person in the flea market have to get a license to sell within the flea market and collect the taxes for us? What is the process?
We can ask Ms. Tosh. I'm not sure that there are individual booths there or whether she just does it on. Are there
I
other
believe
booths?
I don't believe there's individual.
If there are individual booths, each tenant, each vendor is responsible for collecting the tax.
Okay.
I have a sales tax permit with the state of Arkansas, and I collect and pay the state of Arkansas, and then it's spread out with them.
Oh, I see. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome.
Okay. Any questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. Okay, the next item of business to consider ordinance number 01639. First of all, I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01639, an ordinance approving CTR Commercial Transitional District zoning at 1.8 acres at 120 Kent Street and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
Mayor, I move to adopt.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
And Ms. Selman again.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant is property owner Don Harris, and he is requesting CTR Commercial Transitional zoning for his 1.8 acres at 120 Kent Street. The property is currently zoned R4, medium high density residential, has a future land use designation of residential medium high. It's located in Board District number 4. The subject property is located 1 block northwest of Airport Road. It's currently improved with a 1-story, 7,800 square foot structure previously used as the Moose Lodge, a fraternal organization. The property is bounded by Kent Street to the west, Blair Street to the north, the Hot Springs Department of Human Services building to the east, and residential development to the south. The applicant has successfully demonstrated that the standards for favorable consideration have been met. The requested zone change to CTR Commercial Transitional is consistent with the goals and objectives of the Hot Springs Zoning Code 16249A because it represents the least intensive commercial zone district in the city of Hot Springs. It is sensitive to the context of the surrounding neighborhood. It demonstrates a public need for land so zoned and implements adopted plans and policies, specifically land use goal number 6 regarding infill development. Planning Commission duly advertised and held a meeting on May 12, 2016 to consider the application. After calling for testimony and reviewing the record, the Planning Commission, by a vote of 6-1, and this was Commissioner Thomason, voting in the negative on that recommendation because of traffic and impacts to the nearby family park, and Commissioner Ezell recused for conflict of interest. And by that vote accepted the findings of the staff report and recommended that the board adopt an ordinance assigning CTR commercial transitional zoning and amending the future land use plan map to commercial enclave. That concludes the presentation.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Ms. Selman? Do we have anybody signed up for that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we don't have anyone signed up. Questions for Ms. Selman?
Well, I would say Mr. Harris is sitting back there at the back of the room if anybody has questions of the owner.
Well, he didn't sign up, so.
No, you don't have to, Don. I'm just letting them know that you were there.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay, any discussion?
May I
Yes, sir?
ask, what are the encumbrances on a zoned piece of property to CTR? Does it have to go before the Planning Commission for
Yes.
development?
Yes.
Approval for development?
Other than residential, it need to come back for conditional use application for
Okay, great. Thank you.
any other use.
Mhm. That's a huge building. Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Foley,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Ramick,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted.
What happened to the moose? Did they escape? Or?
The next, that's the last item, right?
The end
Yes.
of the line there.
The end, okay. That concludes the business section of tonight's meeting. If there are any comments by the members of the board before we close. Yes, ma'am?
I have one. Just recently, I've had some concerns about people parking in their front yards, and I know we've addressed that in the last couple of years, but I wondered, David and Kathy, I guess, might we get a couple of looks at other options, maybe refine that a bit, and would anybody else on the board support that idea?
Well,
Or
we
have
have the
concerns about
rules,
it.
we just need enforcement, right?
Just need to enforce them, I think, yeah.
Your
Being enforced.
That.
Oh.
Your code right now is pretty permissive in that area, but if there's a consensus that we look at a few other options that could be, I guess, mildly more restrictive than what you currently have, we're happy to do that if the board, if there's support for that. Any objection to it?
No, that came up once before, and we had problems with the people who didn't have anywhere else to park. You know, but their yard.
Yeah. And if they gravel it, it's okay?
I don't know what we could.
Right now, it's pretty generic. It says an approved surface. But for people, there are some of these, if it's a genuine hardship like the one that Director Jones is talking about, that's probably different than some of the ones that appear to be discretionary.
Yeah.
And I think some of the neighborhoods are probably concerned about the discretionary option and whether that should be on the table. I think the others, many of them were grandfathered in as well. So I think some of you may have had calls about new ones that are popping up here and there. So if the board wants us to, we'll be happy to bring back a couple of different options.
Okay, Ms.
Let me just look into it.
What
if
is
you don't mind.
do you know right off your head, what is the regulation on that? We went over it not long ago about the without a tag and all that stuff. And
Yes, and with regard to the surface, most of you remember that until last year, anybody could park any car anywhere, including the lawn. Now, there is a limit to that. We recommend that cars be on a driveway or in the backyard where they are not highly visible and affecting the rest of the neighborhood. There is a provision for an approved surface, which typically is gravel, that is graded and contained in such a fashion that it's clear that that is a parking area. But it is no more specific than that.
So do you get a lot of calls? Do you have people?
Honestly, we get half of our calls are about why are you telling me I can't park there? And half of our calls are, tell this guy to get his car off the lawn.
Yeah.
And it covers all neighborhoods. It doesn't matter what the income level is. This is an issue for every neighborhood.
So what do you do when they call and say, get the car off the lawn? Do we send somebody
We go
over?
out, we talk to the owner, advise them what their options are. Honestly, most people move the car to behind a fence so that it's no longer a problem. But there are people who decide to dump a load of gravel in the front yard and continue to irritate the neighborhood. And some of them, as Director Jones says, have limited options.
Yeah.
Many do not.
So one of the things you might want to do is look at your existing code language and see if there's a way to allow a hardship case where you have no other option, and some staff review criteria for that versus I'm mad at my neighbor, so where's the dump truck? So
Does it make any difference with the value of the car?
Your-
So if you had
your
like a
Lexus
Ferrari
BMW.
Spider in your front yard,
Your neighbors probably wouldn't complain if that was the case.
Yeah. Jack
Planning
Devil.
department has done a really nice job on following up on these
Yeah, they do.
complaints. They really have, and doing it in a way that gets the cooperation of our citizens. So I wanted to thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much. I'll pass that along.
So would you like us to explore some of the options
Yeah.
and bring them back?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We need to.
We don't have to implement them. We're just going to explore
Well,
them
I mean,
right now, right?
if
We'll have
that
to bring them back to you for any
That's-
code changes.
That's probably one of the minor things that I see when I'm driving around. I just see tons of garbage and stuff all over yards in the city, and to me, that's worse than a car.
It's all part of the effort. I mean, if you're too lax in any one area, then it
gets.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments?
I would just like to thank Mr. Frazier for the process that he has implemented for the promotion or for the
Yes.
hiring of employees for positions. Number one, giving our own employees an opportunity to compete, but also setting up a process that is transparent for everybody to see that the people that we have on staff are good enough to get that job and, in fact, beat other candidates. So thank you, David.
You did a great job.
Okay, immediately following tonight's business meeting, there will be a public commentary here in the board's chambers, and for those of you who will be leaving, please do so quietly. Are there, yes, you want to
May I
make a
say
motion?
something?
Oh, yeah.
My pastor just recently, on Thursday, got out of the hospital with pneumonia, bad pneumonia. So I would like for everybody to keep him in your prayers. He prayed for us at the last or the meeting before one.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he was at church and preached on Sunday.
Wow.
So keep him in your prayers.
We will. Okay, being no further business, I'll entertain
Mayor,
a
I'd like to
motion.
make a motion that we adjourn.
Yes, sir.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, we will wait just a moment, and we have